It started on a humid Thursday morning when I noticed a white SUV idling suspiciously outside my driveway. The driver looked confused, scrolling through his phone before knocking on my door. "Hi, I'm here for the Airbnb check-in," he said brightly, suitcase in hand. I blinked. Airbnb. You must have the wrong address. But he didn't. He showed me the listing, a cozy suburban escape with photos of my living room, my pool, even my golden retriever, Max, lounging by the fence. My stomach dropped. Someone had uploaded my house without my permission. A quick search confirmed it. Charming family. Home with pool access, hosted by Karen. Superhost. The name hit me like a slap. Karen. The same Karen who lived 2 doors down, the self-appointed head of our HOA. The woman who once fined me $50 for unauthorized wind chimes. I marched to her house, screenshots in hand. She answered in her usual pastel blouse and pinched expression. "Oh, Daniel," she sighed, as if I were a child. "It's just a misunderstanding. The HOA board thought it would be beneficial to list select neighborhood homes for short-term rental opportunities. You weren't using yours much." "Not using it. It's my house, Karen." She rolled her eyes. "Technically, the HOA owns the image rights to the neighborhood aesthetics. It's in the bylaws." She said that word, bylaws, like it was divine scripture. I left fuming, immediately calling Airbnb support. They promised to investigate. Which I knew meant absolutely nothing for at least 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the listing was still live. Guests could book my home like it was a hotel room. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak sounded like an intruder dragging a suitcase down my hallway. I kept picturing Karen smugly sipping wine, basking in the glow of 5-star reviews for a house she didn't own. The next morning, I decided to do something HOA Karen would never expect. I wasn't just going to take the listing down. I was going to flip the situation entirely. When I opened my laptop, I saw the first review on my Airbnb page: "Great stay. Loved the backyard pool. Will return." That's when the idea struck me: petty, delicious, and perfectly justified. If Karen wanted to play games with my property, I'd join the match. Only this time, I'd be the one setting the rules. Because if she could upload my house without permission, then surely I could rent it out to someone who'd make her life just as complicated as she'd made mine. And I knew exactly who that someone would be. I found him through the grapevine. His name was Greg. And he was Karen's ex-husband. A local handyman with a permanent tan and a mischievous grin. Their divorce had been the neighborhood's favorite soap opera. Karen claimed he was emotionally immature. Greg said she thought HOA stood for her own authority. We met at a local coffee shop. "So you're saying," Greg said slowly, "you want me to rent your house that Karen illegally listed?" I nodded. "Exactly. I'll list it myself for a week, under my own profile. You move in, pretend to be a guest. We'll see how fast she panics." He chuckled, rubbing his jaw. "You're crazier than she ever said." We set it up that afternoon. I re-uploaded my own house, with real permission this time, on a new Airbnb profile. Title: Peaceful Retreat Near Lakeview, Pet Friendly. Within an hour, Greg booked it. Paid up front. The next morning, I handed him the spare key. "Welcome home," I said. He grinned. "Let's see how Karen handles this." By noon, she noticed. I could hear her shrill voice across the street. "Greg, what are you doing in Daniel's house?" He shouted back, "I'm renting it. It's listed fair and square." She stormed over to me later, her perfume entering my yard before she did. "You can't let him live there. He's my ex." "Oh," I said innocently. "The listing was approved by Airbnb. You should understand, Karen, you love the rules." She sputtered, her face turning the color of a stop sign. "You'll regret this." I'll report you to the HOA for unauthorized tenants. I smiled. Funny, that's what I said to you last week. The next few days were bliss. Greg played loud country music every morning. Shirtless while mowing the lawn, Karen's ultimate nightmare. Neighbors peeked through blinds, watching the drama unfold like a live reality show. Meanwhile, I documented everything: emails, photos. Karen's angry outbursts, just in case I needed to defend myself. And as Greg settled in, I realized something deeper was happening. He wasn't just a pawn in my revenge plan. He was enjoying life again. And weirdly enough, I was too. But Karen wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Karen must have spent that entire weekend plotting. Because by Monday, she'd called an emergency HOA meeting. Every mailbox got a flyer titled, "Preserving Neighborhood Integrity." Translation: Kick Greg out. When I arrived, the clubhouse was already packed. Karen sat at the front like a queen addressing her court, gavel in hand. "Neighbors," she began, "we've had a recent breach of trust. Certain residents are using our community for unapproved rentals." All eyes turned to me. I raised my hand. "You mean the same kind of unapproved rental you started?" The room murmured. Karen's jaw tightened. "That was an initiative for community development. Without consent." I shot back. "You can't monetize my property, then act shocked when I do the same." Her face twitched. "This isn't about me. It's about standards. And bringing Greg back here is, frankly, disruptive." Greg, sitting in the back, raised a can of soda. "Cheers to that." The crowd laughed. Karen banged the gavel. "Order." As HOA president, I motioned to fine Daniel for unauthorized activity. But before she could continue, I pulled out my trump card. I'd printed every screenshot. Every Airbnb message she'd sent using my house photos. I slid the stack onto the table. "Funny," I said. "Because I've already filed a complaint. With both Airbnb and the county housing department. Apparently, listing a property without the owner's consent is considered fraud." Silence. One man coughed. Another whispered, "Fraud." Karen's face went pale. "This is ridiculous." "Then you won't mind if I share this with the board," I said, holding up my phone. "And maybe the neighborhood group chat." The gavel hung midair. "Let's table this discussion," she muttered. Greg winked at me. "Looks like the queen just lost her crown." Over the next week, the tension simmered. Karen stopped waving at anyone. Her perfect yard went untrimmed. For the first time, she looked human. Almost defeated. But the story wasn't over. When Greg's stay ended, he didn't want to leave. "Feels like home," he said. And I realized, maybe it could be. Not for him, maybe not even for me. But for something better than Karen's rules ever allowed. Still, I had one last move to play. A month later, Karen tried to reclaim her control by organizing the annual HOA Garden Gala. Normally, I avoided it like the plague. But this time, Greg and I decided to make an appearance. Together. When we arrived, everyone froze. Karen was at the mic. Mid-speech about neighborhood values. Her expression curdled when she saw Greg beside me, carrying a tray of cupcakes. "Daniel," she said through gritted teeth, "how lovely to see you." "Thanks, Karen," I said cheerfully. "Greg and I brought treats. Baked them in my kitchen, you know, the one from your 5-star listing." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Karen's smile strained. I approached the mic. "Actually," I continued, "before Karen closes the ceremony, I wanted to share something exciting. Thanks to her earlier creative marketing, my place has gotten a lot of attention. So much so that I've started a small business, Lakeview Legal Rentals LLC. We offer short-term stays with full homeowner permission. Even the HOA board has been notified." Karen blinked. "You, what?" "Oh, and Greg here. He's my new property manager. Certified and everything." The crowd applauded. Karen's face twitched like a faulty light switch. Funny thing, I added, I even had a lawyer review the HOA bylaws. Turns out, homeowners are free to rent their properties, so long as the listing is approved by the actual owner. Imagine that. Greg leaned in, smirking. Guess rules really do matter, huh, Karen? She didn't reply. Just quietly stepped off stage, clutching her clipboard like a shield. In the weeks that followed, things in Lakeview Estates changed. The HOA became less strict. Meetings got shorter, and Karen, well, she resigned for personal reasons. I never saw her SUV parked across my driveway again. Greg and I kept working together. We built a real business from the chaos Karen started. Sometimes, we'd joke that she was our unpaid marketing consultant. One evening, while watching the sunset from my porch, Greg said, "You know, you could have just reported her and left it there. Why'd you go through all this trouble?" I smiled. Because some lessons stick better when they come with a little irony. He laughed. Well, mission accomplished. And as the last light faded over Lakeview, I realized something: revenge didn't have to be cruel to be satisfying. It just had to be clever. And oh, how clever it was.